Autism is one of the hardest conditions to define due to its complex and varied nature. As many as 1 in 100 people in the UK alone have autism. That's approximately 700,000. Of this number, 1 in 100 are children. The National Autistic Society estimate that as much as half of these children are not in schools which give them the required support. This documentary will be investigating why provisions for pupils with autism are so scarce. We talk to the people on the front line of education, the teachers and the pupils themselves, and ask, are students with autism being excluded from schools? Autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, is a developmental disorder, and it affects how an individual interacts socially, communicates, as well as their interests and behaviour.
Autism is a spectrum.
It's not a single condition, so we don't anymore talk about people as just being autistic.
If you meet one person on the spectrum, that's what you've done. All you've met is one person on the spectrum.
People sit at different ends of the spectrum.
It's very, very wide ranging, and one of the difficulties about it is it's very difficult to actually put it in a box.
They'll have obsessions with things. Personally, me, I'm history, can't get enough of it. And it is an obsession that I will somehow manage to wriggle into everything I do.
Aaron Sullivan is 18 years old and lives in Hastings with his parents, brothers and their many pets.
I place at the high end of the spectrum. I am a diagnosed sufferer of Asperger's syndrome.
Aaron is currently in his final year of college, but outside of the classroom has taken an active role in advocating the rights for those who also have ASD.
It's a really odd story. I was sitting down in a lesson at college one day and I was doing some research on somebody, and I sat there and thought, well, this person has done loads of work for, possibly minority groups, and I thought, you know what, she's done it. Is anybody going to do it for autistic people?
As well as raising awareness, Aaron has been involved in educating his teachers and fellow pupils about how they can create a positive and supportive environment for students like him to work in.
I was asked to sit down with different departments from my college and talk to them about autism. I went home and started typing up letters to various people and sent them out, one of them being Amber Rudd.
Well, Aaron wrote to me and asked for my help, and I wrote him a letter back saying, this is what I think there's available in the area and I'd be delighted to support you. And I didn't really expect to hear from him again, but then he turned up at one of my surgeries and he and his mother were there making the point that he felt very strongly that people with autism like himself needed to engage more with colleges, with businesses, so that people understood more about what people with autism had to contribute.
While Aaron's experiences in college and secondary schools have been overwhelmingly positive, he faced numerous difficulties at his primary school. The attitudes at this particular school meant that they failed to recognise the fact that he even had Asperger's syndrome.
Primary school for me was not a good experience.
Primary education, I felt, was very ill-equipped to assess my boys on the spectrum. I knew there was something wrong. Unfortunately, the school that they were at primary level didn't recognise that there was anything wrong. They knew that they were withdrawn, but didn't recognise that as something perhaps a bit more that needed a bit more investigation.
My first primary school that gave me absolutely no help at all. It was very, very poor.
Currently in England and Wales, pupils with autism are categorised as children with special educational needs, or SEN. Each school has a SEN coordinator, otherwise known as a SENCO, who oversees the care and support for each SEN student.
My job title is the Inclusion Coordinator, which means that we'd like to try and get as many students included in mainstream school as possible. So my role is to oversee the people who work with students with autism, to try and get them accepted within the classroom, to try and get them to achieve as best as they can.
Teachers, certainly when they're training now, have special educational needs training and awareness.
Well, we have a team of teaching assistants who particularly work with individual students in the classroom, or sometimes out of the classroom as well.
While schools individually may strive to support their SEND students, the current arrangement means that students are often unable to gain the required support and help within a mainstream school environment.
There are some students that with very minimal support will be fully included in school and have a great time. But there may be other students that are at the other end of the spectrum who may need 24-hour care.
When I first started teaching, no one talked about children with autism at all.
If you talk to people with Asperger's that are on the spectrum, talk to their parents, they will say too often they have to kind of fight for what they want and what suits them.
However, the Children and Families Act 2014, passed in March, simplifies the system and replaces statements with a single assessment process and an education, health and care plan.
Young people with autism have gained the confidence in a lot of areas to do things to highlight their difficulties and to say, you know, I am autistic, I am different, I'm very proud of the differences that I have, and therefore I've got these strengths and I'm prepared to work with them despite my own difficulties.